My girlfriend's laughter rang out amidst her friends, an echo of joy that masked a treacherous undercurrent. "I'll brutally dump him after he proposes," she had declared, her words lingering in the air like a dark cloud. I sat, frozen, absorbing the revelation that would fundamentally alter my perception of our relationship. Just 2 days later, she screamed into my intercom, begging for forgiveness, but the damage was done. I'm 29, and I've been with Patricia, who is 27, for 3 years. Our relationship had felt perfect, full of love and shared dreams. We met at a housewarming party through mutual friends, and after a year of dating, we moved in together last summer. Patricia had been dropping hints about marriage for months, showing me pictures of rings on Instagram and discussing wedding venues, and I was planning to propose next month. Yesterday morning, while I was at our usual coffee shop, Local Beans, I heard her laugh from a table behind me. I had intended to greet her and her friends, Gladys and Mary, but when I heard my name, curiosity took over. I remained seated, earbuds in but not playing anything, pretending to work. Patricia was discussing me, and her tone made me uneasy. "So, you're really going through with it?" Gladys asked, her voice loud enough to draw attention. Patricia laughed, a sound that felt colder than I had ever heard. "Of course Brent's predictable. He's been searching for rings online. I even saw his browser history." "What a fool," she scoffed. My heart sank at her words, and I struggled to remain calm. Mary, sounding concerned, remarked, "That's a long time to fake it." Patricia dismissed her concern, revealing her ulterior motives. "The apartment's in his name. I've hardly contributed financially. Jason's place is twice as nice. His car is incredible." Jason was a colleague of hers, someone I had noticed appearing in her Instagram stories frequently. "What if Brent doesn't propose when you expect?" Gladys asked. "Oh, he will. I've got him wrapped around my finger," Patricia replied, lowering her voice but still loud enough for me to hear. "I'll let him do it in front of everyone, and after he gets down on one knee and makes his little speech, I'll laugh in his face and tell him he's a pathetic loser." Jason's already booked our Cabo trip for the next day. Their giggles bounced off the cafe walls, and I felt my grip tighten around my phone as I recorded their conversation, my rage boiling beneath the surface. After they left, I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. I felt compelled to strategize. I had invested 3 years of my life into this relationship, and the realization that Patricia had been deceiving me the entire time was unbearable. The apartment lease and our shared accounts were all evidence I needed to begin plotting my next move. When Patricia returned home that evening, I acted as if nothing was amiss. I asked about her day and listened to her fabricated stories about lunch with her friends. She kissed me and suggested Giovans for our anniversary next week, a perfect dinner in her eyes. "Great idea, babe," I replied, masking my true intentions with a smile. Over the next few days, I played detective, feeling a mix of drama and determination. I created a fake Instagram account to follow Patricia's friends, Gladys and Mary, gathering screenshots of their outings with Patricia and Jason. In several photos, they were kissing, and Patricia wore the promise ring I had given her last Christmas. I decided to take matters further. Remember how Patricia always worked late on Thursdays? I went to a Thai restaurant near her office, and to my shock, I saw her sharing a meal with Jason. They were so engrossed in each other that they didn't even notice me sitting at the bar, discreetly recording their interactions. Patricia wiped sauce off Jason's chin while wearing my hoodie, and I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. The next day, I bumped into Gladys at the grocery store. She looked like she had seen a ghost when I casually asked her about the cafe meetup. I pulled out my phone to show her a photo of the engagement ring I intended to propose with. A mere Google image. Her expression shifted, and I knew I had planted a seed of doubt. After our conversation, she called Patricia, and I anticipated the tension that would follow. My friend Jacob, who worked in a different apartment at Patricia's company, helped me gather more intel. He revealed that Jason wasn't just a random fling. He was going through a divorce, and Patricia had no idea. Jason had been feeding her lines about leaving his wife, which made everything even more complicated. I maintained my composure, acting loving and supportive while subtly dropping hints about our future together. Patricia was oblivious, excitedly thinking her plan was unfolding perfectly. One day, she left her phone unlocked while taking a shower, and I didn't need to snoop. Her messages with Gladys were right there on the screen, detailing how she was waiting for the perfect moment to dump me and go public with Jason. I made a reservation at a fancy steakhouse for the following Saturday, and Patricia thought it was for a proposal. Her friends, including Jason, planned to celebrate with us, completely unaware of the trap I was setting. I secured a new apartment and began removing my belongings from our shared space, taking only what she wouldn't notice at first. As the days passed, I felt a mix of anticipation and adrenaline. I would be presenting her with a box containing printouts of all the incriminating evidence, along with a note that would shatter her carefully constructed facade. Every time she kissed me or spoke of our future, I had to suppress the urge to confront her. Watching her dig her own grave while I orchestrated a much larger plan felt almost poetic. Saturday arrived, and I donned the blue suit Patricia loved, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. I picked her up, and she glowed with anticipation. As we entered the restaurant, her friends were already there, cameras ready to capture the moment. I felt a wave of satisfaction as I recalled how she had laughed about her plan to humiliate me. Dinner progressed, and as dessert approached, Patricia grew fidgety, likely wondering when I would pop the question. Instead of reaching for a ring, I stood up and raised my wine glass, announcing I'd like to make a toast. Patricia's face lit up, and the entire restaurant fell silent. To the woman who's been sharing my life for 3 years, I began, and who's been sharing her life with Jason from accounting for the last 8 months. Her smile faded, confusion turning to horror, as laughter erupted from the surrounding tables. I played the recording from the cafe, her own voice filling the air. I'll brutally dump him after he proposes. Jason. And I already have plans for a weekend getaway to celebrate. The color drained from her face, and I felt a rush of vindication. What's funny, I continued, maintaining my calm demeanor, is that Jason never told you he's married, did he? That was the final straw. Patricia erupted, knocking over her wine glass and screaming, "You set me up!" "No, Patricia," I replied. "You set yourself up. I just refuse to be your punching bag." I turned to her friends, Gladys and Mary. "Did you know she was planning to humiliate me? Or were you just happy to play along?" Mary, now in tears, confessed she had no idea about the extent of Patricia's deception. Gladys attempted to defend Patricia, but I interrupted, revealing that I had evidence of Patricia manipulating everyone. Patricia lunged for my phone, but Jacob stepped between us, saying quietly, "Don't." In that moment, she lost all composure, crying out, "You ruined everything." The restaurant manager approached, and as Patricia continued to scream, I felt a sense of relief. I had exposed her true colors, and it was clear to everyone but her. Jacob helped me settle the bill, while Patricia was escorted out, still yelling. Gladys followed her, but Mary stayed behind, looking genuinely remorseful. Outside, I found Patricia sobbing on the curb, likely on the phone with Jason. Gladys tried to console her, but retreated when she saw me. "How could you do this to me?" she wailed, the rage replaced by desperation. "I loved you," she pleaded, but I replied, "No, you loved what I could provide you. There's a distinct difference." I got into my car and drove away, blocking her number as calls and texts flooded in, alternating between threats and pleas for forgiveness. The following morning, I awoke to 47 missed calls and a barrage of texts from Patricia, each one more frantic than the last. She showed up at Jason's home that night, causing a scene, and his wife called the police. The fallout was swift and brutal. It was also revealed that Jason had been using work resources to pursue Patricia, and he was fired for violating workplace policy. Patricia was let go too, her meltdown at the office becoming the stuff of legends. Jacob informed me that she had literally flipped a desk in a fit of rage, screaming about how I ruined her life. Meanwhile, my friends began to circulate the evidence I had collected, and Patricia's reputation spiraled downward. The screenshots of her manipulative messages and laughter-filled plans to humiliate me were shared among our friend group, and suddenly the narrative shifted. Patricia had painted me as controlling, but the truth was laid bare for all to see. Her friends began to turn against her, Mary came to apologize, stating she had no idea how deep Patricia's manipulation ran. The betrayal cut deep, and Patricia's attempt to damage control only made things worse. She showed up at our favorite bar, trying to explain herself, but Gladys stood up and confronted her, declaring, "You're pathetic, and we all see it now." Patricia retaliated by throwing a drink at Gladys, earning herself a ban from the bar and further alienating her friends. The housing situation hit Patricia hard. She had boasted about moving in with me post-proposal, but now found herself crashing on her cousin's couch, unable to afford a place of her own. The fallout from her actions left her isolated, and she was forced to confront the consequences of her choices. Last week, Patricia showed up at my workplace, causing another scene and screaming that I owed her for 3 years of her life. My crew filmed her meltdown, and the video quickly made its way onto our local Facebook page, garnering more views than I could have imagined. I felt a mix of amusement and relief as I watched her spiral further. Meanwhile, I took that engagement ring money and booked a solo trip to a beautiful beach resort. I proudly posted photos of my vacation, and Patricia exploded upon seeing them, accusing me of wasting our vacation money. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. She had orchestrated her own downfall. In the midst of all this chaos, I met someone new, Ramona. She is completely different from Patricia. Independent, career-driven, and genuine. We started seeing each other a few weeks ago, and she even laughed when I shared Patricia's latest social media rants. When Patricia reached out to Ramona with warnings about me, Ramona simply replied with a video of Patricia's parking lot meltdown and blocked her. Patricia's parents, who had once welcomed me into their family, reached out to apologize for their daughter's behavior. Her mother was in tears, expressing shame and concern about the impact of the videos on their church community. Now, 2 months later, Patricia is jobless, friendless, and seemingly moving back in with her parents. Her reputation is in tatters, and she is forced to face the consequences of her actions. I, on the other hand, am thriving and grateful for the lessons learned. Karma has a way of catching up, and Patricia is undoubtedly learning this the hard way. I'm still with Ramona, and things are going wonderfully. I haven't heard from Jason's wife since the fallout, but it seems she took him for everything in the divorce. As for Patricia, she continues to reach out through fake accounts, but at this point, it's simply sad. I've moved on, and I'm happy to leave the past behind.